Hey everyone, today's video is going to be yet another settings guide, this time for BF6. As on my first montage, I got a lot of questions about random various settings I was using and about the res and all of that, and I figured it'd just be easier to throw together a quick little video. I'm sure you're going to see like 100 of these because everybody's getting the question of what their settings is. I think Uniting actually just posted one not too long ago. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. So a lot of this is also personal preference, so if you don't like some of the settings I'm using, feel free to try something else, and these are the ones that I just personally prefer and would recommend in some cases. So to get started, tinnitus, I would just turn this down as low as you can. It generally just hurts your gameplay and doesn't help you in any way, so just turn this all the way down to 0. For color presets, this is what I'm running. Not too much different than default. Coming down to brightness, again, personal preference and your monitor. I am on 75, and in camera effects, camera settings, you want to basically turn all of this off. It's all useless and just hurts your visibility. Coming down to controls, a lot of these are default. Obviously skipping all of the controller stuff. The tutorials for everything in the game are off. Capture area outline, you actually want this on because it puts a little ring on the ground and it's just easier for you to identify when you're actually in a capture zone. If you're somebody that actually plays the objective, I'm sure most people watching this video, this doesn't really affect you at all. And then the rest of these in the vertical look and hold toggle are basically default. Coming down to sensitivity, this is a big one. This top setting doesn't matter, it's for controllers, and the bottom one I am playing 11.2 on 1600 DPI, which is 27 centimeters. And I know mouse sensitivity made like a money move and you can't actually use it right now to convert your sense, so I'm going to show you another website that you can get close to the actual sense you'll be using. So yeah, I'll show that later. And then most of these others are default. Talking about landing roll, so this is actually a setting that can be useful, and this is where again personal preference kind of comes into play. So landing roll basically allows you to do an extra animation that reduces your fall damage, but the animation is really janky and like jarring for me, and I just don't want to be locked in an animation, so I would definitely recommend turning this off. And then the rest of these are default. And I'm going to be skipping all the vehicle stuff as well because I'm not a vehicle player. Skipping the controller tab and into mouse and keyboard. We already talked about sense. In control, uniform infantry aiming is basically uniform soldier aiming, and this is going to be a big one. I think I talked about this in my last settings video for BF4, but 0 coefficient is the truth. If you're having like weird aim or something like that, I would try playing on 0. I swear your flicks feel way more consistent, and just in general, after swapping to 0, I found that like my aim is just way better, so I would try 0 for sure if you like care about your performance in the game at all. However, if you don't like 0, then 133 and 178 are the other like popular usable values. And I'm playing on 110 FOV in this game. And I think most of this, again, landing roll off, but most of the other stuff is default. And then coming into key bindings, I'm going to scroll through this, and the only key binding I have changed is putting knife on mouse 3. So the same as BF4, but the rest of these are default. Again, skipping the vehicle tab. UI keybinds are the same. Going into advanced, there's only one setting that matters, and you want mouse raw input on always in every game you play pretty much, unless, you know, somebody tells you otherwise. Coming into graphics, basically everything off or low with no exceptions, really. So in BF4 and other Battlefield games, you would put mesh quality on ultra. In this game, they seem to have fixed or you know, just solved the problem where if you had this any lower than ultra, the objects would kind of just randomly pop in, and yeah, you can just turn this on low now. It doesn't really affect you. I've played on both and it hasn't made any difference. I'm playing on 75 brightness in this game. Again, kind of depends on you. Sharpness is default, I believe. And then coming into advanced, obviously you want res scale at 100. If you have it any lower than this, your game's gonna look absolutely terrible. If you have a really bad PC, then this is something you could look into messing with, but again, it's gonna make your game look awful. And then again, I play enabled plus boost, and everything else is off. Anti-aliasing off. I'm actually playing with DLSS when I'm recording this video a day before the new open, or a couple hours before the new open beta drops. For some reason DLSS isn't an option, but I was playing with DLSS on balanced. You don't want to do performance or ultra performance. It looks insanely bad. Also coming down here, future frame rendering, you want this off. For me personally, I played with this both on and off, and it actually made like no difference to my FPS, so you might as well just have it off for the slight benefit to input, even though you probably won't even notice that if you have it on anyways. And in this game I'm playing on 110 FOV. If you go any lower than this, it's really weird in this game. Like I normally play 95 on most of the other Battlefields. In this game I just don't really feel like that's viable. Coming down here to weapon field of view, I put this on wide as it just makes your weapon appear a little bit smaller, takes up less of the screen, and then everything else in camera on or off as it just affects your visibility. Coming down to display, probably the second biggest setting I get asked about. You want it on full screen or borderless. And then I'm playing on 1440 by 1080, which is 4:3 obviously. People that watch my channel know I play 4:3 on pretty much like every FPS game. So yeah, nothing's changed. Except 1280 by 960 in this game is a little weird, and I just find that, like, I don't know, the gun's recoil, it just gets a little weird playing on 1280 by 960. So I would definitely advise 1440 by 1080 or playing 1610 on this game specifically. Obviously VSync off, and then soldier HUD, vehicle HUD, turn everything that like moves your HUD off, and then the rest of these are defaults. I believe I messed with the minimap settings a little bit, so here those are. And then yeah, all the hints and stuff off. So I'm personally playing with icon intensity on 80. I think this adjusts like all of the icons and stuff like that in the game. You can turn this higher if you want them slightly bigger. And then coming into the advanced options, there are a couple of important things to note in here. So mainly these settings right here, when zoomed, you want this all the way down so that when you're scoped in, it's not affecting you and you don't have to see like the flags and all of that like super defined in your screen. It'll actually help you a lot. So zoomed on friendlies and zoomed on enemies, or the revive icon, sorry. And then I'm personally playing on 120, and you max these other two. Obviously you want the enemy icons on when you're scoped, because that's obviously very important. And then the rest of these are default, I believe. And then coming down to crosshairs, so obviously you want both of these maxed. I like yellow crosshairs in most games, and you want this on default. In my opinion, the other two look really bad, but again, personal preference. And infantry crosshair projection, you want this off so that your crosshair is always in the middle of your screen. I don't know why this is even a setting. And here are my hit indicators. These are the same as BF4 if you want to rock those. And I think that's all for graphics, yeah. So coming into audio, you want to obviously have it on headphones unless you have a different setup, and audio mix on war tapes. I played around with the different types of war tapes. I didn't notice a huge difference personally, so I'm not really sure what the Val really does. Maybe somebody can leave a comment if like this is insane for you or whatever, if you noticed a difference in a certain area of the game. But yeah, I didn't notice a difference, so just war tapes again. You can't really hear footsteps at all anyways in this game, so. And obviously these are my other settings. So coming down to system, obviously most of this is default. Here are my minimap settings again, if I didn't show those earlier. And then obviously you want scoreboard ping on. And I think that's going to do it for all of the in-game settings. So now I'm going to show you the config file and where to put it. So now that we're on the desktop, I'm just going to show you where to put the config file and what I have in it if you have the game on Steam. So obviously I'm going to go to my C drive, I'm going to go to the Steam library, go to Steam apps, common, and then find Glacier events. And you're just going to want to put the config file right in here, and these are the 3 lines I have in it. So obviously this is for depth of field and motion blur, and the middle one is something that people put in the config file for 2042, I believe is the only other game that had this. And basically what this does, it just disables some of the lights. So like as soon as you put this into the config and you load up your game, you'll notice the main menu is like black pretty much. It's like pure black. And then it also does that in the testing range because it disables the lights. Now this does also affect slightly the lights in game. So if you don't like the look, you can just come in here, delete this, and save it. But it does give you a pretty good FPS boost, especially if you're somebody that's like hard bound by your GPU. And that's pretty much gonna do it for this settings video. I hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like and subscribe if you did. I'll probably have to make another one of these when the game actually drops. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the second week of the beta. Peace.